Don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're just freaked out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kira's show here, and now, before I do continue, in the last part, we had Deku and his team. Deku revealed to them, one for all, the power he possesses. He told them that he used to be quirkless, and he told them all about All Might. He told this to his team, as before he gave them this bombshell, he gave them another one. Them and the people they are trying to team up with to take down the Psychos. He told them about All Might, how there's a chance he might be powerless and only be able to use his quirk for a few hours a day. This was seen as insane to them. They are well aware as to what type of monster All Might is in his prime. They're well aware as to what he can do nowadays. And the idea of picturing that beast in a position of weakness, it's hard for them to understand. Deku knows exactly what type of risk he's taking with just assuming that. And everybody, they were all put on guard. The new idea for a plan. Either try to find allies through the sewers and tracking down the moles, or use All Might to make it look like he just targeted them to wipe them out. They can follow the moles back to their base and find out what's going on there. Find out if they're innocents or more psychos, and then move on to that. Now, with that being said, we'll actually cut back a few months, roughly 1 month, so just before Deku sawed off his own arm. Now, we do have out in the middle of nowhere, there is a room. It's been long since it's gone dark. Many people, they've tried to leave this place. They've tried to abandon it. However, it's proven difficult. And right now, you do have a screen that is flared to life talking about an error. It's talking about multiple malfunctions and about how they need to be repaired, or this place, it might be left to ruins. As you do actually have where it does start to program and or plot a course. And it does begin to start moving. Now, with that being said, we'll cut back up to Deku about 13 months into the apocalypse. So, back to where we were. Not the year and a half. Now, it's been a few days. At this point, Mei has all the stuff needed to start making the prototypes. And because she would rather be doing this than sleeping, yeah, she's been making work fast. And this is something that Deku, he does notice. However, he doesn't really care too much. Mei does her own thing. They usually don't have her try to help out too much. She's their tech head. She constantly makes inventions and tries to come up with new things. And usually, they do help out. However, sometimes they're a hit or a miss. Now, we actually do have where Deku, he is sitting outside. And he's staring at the sunset. He's thinking about it again. He's trying to understand what Kirishima said. As you do actually have where Keno shows walk outside, along with even Momo. The two of them, they do see Deku. Momo going to walk back inside as Keno just stare at him for a minute. She can see exactly the way he is acting. Something's off about him. she can't quite piece it together. Her going to walk over as she just going to sit down. Deku turning his head. Hey. Hi. Are you okay? Not really, no. Things are complicated. Yeah, I get that. But not really too much we can do about it, right? Um, you have no idea. What do you mean? What I mean is, I learned something from Kirishima. And I'm actually starting to think about another theory with the infection. Deku explaining it to Kendo. And Kendo, the moment she does actually learn this, she does find it to be kind of horrifying. And a little bit of a thing that will make her heart skip. Not in the good way. Deku basically explains it. He bit a guy on the face whenever he was captured. In Kirishima, he found the same guy with two other people fused together like he was a zombie. And he believes that it could be because of his bite, but he's not exactly too sure. And Kendo, after hearing that, she does sort of just look at Deku for a minute. She knows for a fact he's not infected. They've checked him. If he was, it would take, what? It would have taken days for him to turn. But it's been about a month and a half. This is causing Kendo to somewhat just look down at her hand. And Deku, he does notice that. You think you're like it too, aren't you? It's a bombshell, yeah. It's crazy. I know. But that makes me question something else, though. Are we still human? Hmm? What do you mean? I've been thinking about it a lot. I don't exactly know myself. This idea in my head, it tells me that we have been infected by something. It changed us somehow, but we're not zombies. So you think we're immune? No, we're not. We can be infected. All it takes is an activation. But that's not exactly it. It might be possible that corks can go dormant. Maybe. But this is different. My theory is that maybe it's genetic. What do you mean by that? Well, I feel like I'm grasping at straws here, but maybe we're the only generation that has to deal with quirk malfunctions. What do you mean? What I mean is, well, we're infected. And we aren't zombies. We have a dormant version of it in our blood, right? That makes sense? So, in theory, it's in our blood cells as well, right? In our DNA. It's been attached to us long enough, right? It's just, we might be different. What I'm trying to say is, do you think that there can be a next generation after us that they actually can use quirks? This catching Kendo off guard. And Kendo, she does actually start trying to think about it. She never really had that idea in her mind. But Deku did? Well, it kind of makes sense. She doesn't exactly know the whole scientific part of it, but in theory, if a baby does develop and it does get exposed to these things that they've been infected with, could its biology change enough to be immune? This actually somewhat making Deku kind of intrigued a bit more. This idea, it actually doesn't sound too far-fetched. Yes, nature, it's a weird and tricky thing, but adapting to survive is something every species has to do. It's something every species does. It's why there's mutations in certain animals. It's why some have certain diets. It's why some they have certain traits. It's just it blows Deku's mind. And this is actually where Deku he does go to stand up. After hearing Mei call to him. And Kendo should just sit there still trying to process that bombshell. Looking down towards her hand. She looks at the bite her father gave her. Could it be that he involuntarily may have just gave her something? Gave her something to hope for? Look forwards to? This is something that she doesn't really understand. However, it does make her a bit more weird to use her quirk, knowing for sure it's not possible. While that instinct in her mind has gone away with the reaction to use it, it still is a fear she does have. And she feels like it might be the same everyone else does have. While many of them aren't exactly fighters, they still have that initial reaction. It's just well instinct at that point. And she does try to disregard it, walking back inside as Deku, he's standing there with Mei, and a lot of other people around the table. Mei introducing to them her prototype, as she does show them the little bomb or the sound grenade, as a lot of them are just staring down at it. It doesn't look all that special. It looks like a toy with just a bunch of wires coming out of it. And this actually is where someone does ask a question, asking exactly how loud this thing can go. And Mei, she actually just started to scratch her head, talking about how they can't really tell without a test. And Deku, he really doesn't want to do this here. Him actually going to pick this thing up and ask me exactly how it does work. Ashes grab it from Deku carefully and inform him. It's quite easy. There's a switch on the back that's just off and on. Flip it and it should turn on. However, the way it's been modified, it should only last, not even really 15 seconds? It will be loud, and it will cause quite a bit of noise. So, they need to make sure to be careful with it, since if it's louder than they assume, it will get something's attention. And Deku, he does take that into consideration. Right now, the house is a good distance away from the gate. And while zombies, they do try to make their way here just because they're passing by and see a large group, and it catches their attention, it does make Deku wonder. Drive the zombies away from them. And it is something that Deku, he does think about. This being where he actually does turn to look towards somebody, as he does ask if anyone they want to help him and test this thing out. This being where, let's just say, Kirishima he actually does volunteer. As the two they do leave to test out the prototype. And Mei, she actually does continue working. Her working on the second one that doesn't involve the toy. And she actually just finds it to be a little bit more complicated. She has to make it a bit more makeshift, along with even trying to put a frame around it. Now, it was relatively difficult at first, but after getting the frame made and basically finding out where to put and duct tape everything, it does work. Now, this is something that she might actually have to do quite a bit often. However, if it doesn't work, she just has one solution to it. More duct tape. Now, with that being said, we do actually cut over to Deku and Kirishima. The two, they drove a bit out, and they went towards the city. As, while they were on the outskirts of it, you do have where Deku, he does go to actually step, or at least roll down the window. As he does go to grab onto the handle and go to step up. Kirishima watching as Deku, he actually has to go to flip the switch as the thing actually does start to power on. Deku tosses the thing as hard as he can as the thing just starts smashing together the two little instruments in its hand. Now, Deku is actually kind of caught off guard. As it does start flying through the air, it does make a loud sound. And Kirishima, he actually does do one simple thing. After Deku does get back into the car and go to roll up his window, Kirishima, he does just turn off the car. As the two of them, they do wait. Now, driving out of here would be a good idea in theory. However, if they make noise louder than that thing, it'll be a problem. And Deku, he actually is trying to listen. He can hear it from here. And the thing's gotta be, what, 30, 40 meters away, kinda? He can't exactly tell. He didn't really get a good toss in on it. However, the thing is audible, even with the windows rolled up. As we actually have where Deku, out of the corner of his right eye, he does see something pass right by him. Him immediately going to turn as he's going to try and bring up, or at least pull a gun. As, whenever he does realize it's a zombie that's walking forwards, he actually does feel a bit of relief. Now, Kirishima, he does stay silent. As he actually is going to bring his hand up, I'm going to turn down the radio a bit more. As Deku actually just look towards him and see him, the two making direct eye contact. As directly walking past their vehicle is a locked jaws. And this is something that both of them, they really don't want to mess with. It was a good call to try and sit down and stay in place. Deku actually at least looking towards Kirishima and nodding, as he does nod back. Now, the two of them, they do wait, as after some time, the group of zombies that was around, they do disappear. And Kirishima, he does go to start the car, as the two of them, they do head back. Now, they would inform Mei that it was somewhat successful. However, the thing, it died out a little bit faster than she thought, maybe at least 10 seconds. Now, Mei does take that into consideration, as they'll continue testing over the next couple weeks, or at least the next couple days. Now, this is something that she does actually take into consideration. And Deku, as he does go to retire for the day, or for the rest of the night, he does actually get to his room. Him actually walking out to the balcony and looking off. It's coming together. It's all working. This idea they have. However, now comes the hard part. They've gotten past the easy hurdles. And right now, it's somewhat going to get a little bit more challenging. Since now they have to work on locating the number one hero. And making sure he's exactly what they expect him to be. Because if he's not, there's a good chance whoever goes to find him will be ripped apart. Now, Deku, he actually is thinking about that. This is basically a suicide mission. Almost. But there's that chance. They have to have hope. That being something that Deku, he never really thought he'd think about. Trying to be optimistic about this shit. Everything that they've been through, it's hard to even just smile or just think positive about. Now he's trying to think. They're trying to use All Might as the weapon, the tool to kill. And Deku, he actually is starting to try to ponder. That day where they saw All Might on television, where was he? Where was he? Let's see. If he's right, he saw a building in the background. Maybe it was tall. And then there was a police blockade. Police blockades are usually set. Where would they be? Deku trying to think. As while he is doing so, you do actually have where someone does come walking into Deku's room. And they do at least walk towards the balcony to find him. As Deku does turn around to see Momo. Her just staying there and looking at Deku. As Deku, he does ask her exactly what does she want. Hey, you seem to be a bit more, well, upset. Are you alright? It's a lot. Hmm? Really? Do you want to talk about it? Not really. Deku just say. Him turning to look at the moon. His idea and his theory. That's all he has to cling on to. And these plans, they can get people killed. They're going to get people killed. And this is something that Deku, he does feel heavy in his chest. He hasn't felt pressure like this before. He's actually having to, well, try to build this up. He's trying to have to hold it back. This, well, desire to save. He has to try to drown it. Try to push it to the back of his mind and bury it. There is no more saving. There's only helping. There's only surviving. If you help somebody else is gonna get fucked over. That's how it works. That's what Deku's thinking. And Momo should actually see that expression on Deku's face. He looks like he's almost in physical pain. As she just come walking over with something behind her back. And Deku actually just noticed she's just gonna bring up one of her hands. Deku actually looking at Momo's hand as she's actually going to bring it up and onto his shoulder. Asking if he's going to be okay. I don't know. I'm just thinking is all. I understand. But are you thinking good things or bad? What do you consider a good thing? Well, that's hard to say. Are you thinking about friends? Are you thinking about the future? Are you thinking about us? Not exactly at the moment, no. Deku trying to explain. He kind of tries to explain these feelings to her. The two having a bit of a conversation about it. Momo, she does see where Deku does somewhat stand. It's a big role. This whole getting people killed and exactly his connections with All Might. She understands that these are heartstrings Deku's pulling on. And he kind of feels them starting to wither. He doesn't exactly know. He feels it isn't right, but he knows it's logical. And he hates himself. He can't help but just think that. Now, Momo, she was going to bring out her other hand. As she was going to bring her other hand up and show Deku something. Deku, he does see what looks to be some sort of cloth, maybe? He can't exactly look at it too well. As Momo, she actually has to go to bring it up to his face and cover Deku's damaged eye. As she has informed him. Her actually going to bring it up and over his head as she does start to at least try to tighten it a bit. As she does try to explain to Deku. It might not look too well right now, but she tried using a piece of cloth and she tried using a piece of leather from, well, something old to try to make it. And Deku actually was going to bring his hand up and feel it. It does kind of feel easy on his face, and it doesn't feel too bad. And this is something that Deku, he does actually somewhat feel over. It is actually kind of comfortable. And it does actually give him a bit more leeway with his eye. He does kind of hate that it's just open air. And this does feel more, well, a lot better for him now. Momo, she actually is going to bring her hands up to his face, asking if he is, well, if he likes it. All my life, I never expected to get a gift like that. Honestly. It's, well, It's bad, isn't it? No, it's the first gift I've gotten that wasn't from my mother. Momo's staring at Deku. She actually does feel kind of happy. She gave him something that he never had. And, well, he's given her something that she's never had. Someone who understands, on some level. This is something that neither of them they've had experience with before. As you actually do have where Deku is going to bring his hand up and wrap it around Momo's waist. As he does go to kiss her. Deku just thinking, they can get away from it. Step outside this fucked up world. Step outside of it for a few minutes. Just spend some time together. And that being all the world he looks at. Now, Deku, him and Momo, they do stay like this for a minute. As we do have whenever someone they were walking by, and they actually did look into the room. As they were kind of confused. They saw at least the silhouette of someone, and they saw someone else. And this kind of caught them off guard. As, after at least peeking in a bit more, they saw Momo. And they did actually see Deku. As Deku, him and Momo, they did have their foreheads pressed together. And Deku, he did have his eye closed, along with something on his face. Now, this person they did go to leave, as they don't want to interrupt whatever that is. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing night. I'll catch you guys in the next part.